when playing contrary motion scales, particularly I'm going to start with a white note scale, which would be A minor natural. You're going to basically see 2 octaves within your vision straight away. Even if it's a little bit peripheral, you will see it. When you get to the 3rd octave, it disappears from your screen here. And that's why it's best to lean in either this direction, if you favor the left side, or when you get to this side, you'll lean here, and you will gradually come back up. So you're never stiff, your body's never stiff. A little bit of leaning this way, and then you're coming back up. And so for A minor, a couple of things you can do is do a little blocking first. I love to block out my scales, particularly in contrary motion. And when you have the same fingers playing at the same time as you do in this particular scale and others, everything works nicely the way you can block it. So you can start with your thumbs, then your 2 3s. Let go of the finger that's not transitional. So if you have 2 3 4, you're letting go of everything but your 4. Look at the way the thumb works. Kind of lifts up. I like to lift up my thumb and think up. Think up. Okay, now I'm going to lean. And then rotate and back. Lift your thumb up. 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 That thumb is actually lifting up, because you don't want to have those interruptions of your thumb in a scale. You want to have very wavy, particularly because I'm going to be using triplets in this particular demonstration. So that's a very good thing to do, is block out. Now when you block, you can't have stiff fingers. You have to have the buoyancy, as I'm showing you. Up. Up thumb. Get that thumb under a little quicker than you like. Get it under. And back. And up. And up. Over. Up. And up. And up. And resolve. Now as I actually play out the scale, you'll see my leaning more toward here in the last octave. So roll, triple, and now I'm leaning there and back. Now I'm coming back up. Again, roll, rotate and Now, if I'm playing staccato in my contrary motion, I might practice staccato blocks. Staccato blocks, I still want my thumb advancing a little ahead under these tunnels, because the thumb is the guide for what comes before and what comes after it. Under thumb, quickly under thumb. I should follow my leaning. And I'm using a finger staccato. A finger staccato is this. It's a finger staccato. Yeah, so the finger staccato is as if you're dusting off in every key a little speck, and you're pulling it in. You have a very crisp release or rebound. Right. And so when you go very quickly, it's a very effective kind of staccato. It's hard to have wrist staccatos for every single note. So if you have, for instance, works very well. And again, the blocks are important. Get that thumb under. Lean. So those are some of my strategies for contrary motion and staccato, because now I have all my blocks. I have the angle of my hand. I have the thumbs coming under. I'm going to lean in that direction. Now, I could use some wrist staccato. It's kind of hard to do this eternal finger staccato. Now, where I use my wrist is where I start grouping notes, so that you'll see me doing this more with the wrist spring forward. You can't do a wrist spring forward for every single note of a fast scale. It'd be like a machine gun going like that, and it would sound like that. So what you could do is you could start thinking of grouping a bunch of notes under one wrist gesture like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see the little undulations of my wrist. It's a bit easier, more relaxing to me than just doing. Yeah. So indeed, wrist staccato and finger staccato there's some alliance because you're still needing a crisp release at the ends of your fingers, regardless of whether it's wrist spring forward or it's just dusting the keys. Then there's of course the forearm staccato, which is a lot bigger, and you might see a lot of accents in the music where the composer might want this. Now if you notice I didn't lean that way because I've gotten to the point where I've playing for so many years that I can almost look at the ceiling and know what I'm doing without, anyway, my head going back and forth. But I also do tend to lean toward the instrument, whereas I recommend more that you lean toward the side that you're looking at. But even if you just leaned toward the instrument, it would make the instrument feel smaller. So whatever you decide to do, you have to have a springy sound and a buoyant sound and not fall down on a hard turf, because whether you're playing staccato or legato, you're still lifting your sound. So legato can be, see with the wrist here. You see my wrist. Gives me a lot of control. It definitely does, because you're bunching some of the notes together in a one wrist motion. So bunching it and shaping the line really works. So I hope this helps.